Hello, hello, hello. This is Angela with Dogwood Paper Arts, and we are back to finish the ephemera for our journal. Hopefully put the cover on and the tie, and then put in the charms, and then I believe tomorrow we'll be back with our walkthrough and our inserting recipe cards. Okay, so let's get started really quick. First of all, welcome all subscribers. It's good to have you here. I'm glad you're joining me. I really appreciate all of you, and welcome. So let's get going. I'm going to put this on last. I don't want it to catch any ink or anything on the table. Okay, so here is the pocket I put in the front. It's just a small accordion pocket made with envelopes. Now mine tore on the side down here, and I have this glued down, so I'm going to have to pull it up. I put a piece of paper there, but anyway, when we make your envelopes, they'll be reinforced. But you can see they're just a little accordion pocket here with envelopes. This one needs a tab on it, so we should put a tab on that one. But will fit your 3.5 by 5 inch cards. Okay, so yeah, my envelopes, they are not super strong, and so I need to pull this up and wrap a little piece around it. But on the new ones, I've reinforced them. What did I do in here? Anything new? Well, we'll catch it when we do the walkthrough. I had more ephemera than I thought. Oh, here's the other pocket. I told you I wanted to put a little notepad in the back, so I used the blank papers to do that. Some have writing on the back, but I figured it would be a good place to write recipes or notes or, you know, whatever. We're going to make one of those as well, if we have time. It all takes a little bit of time. So let's start with the simple one first, which would be this one. The other one's quite simple too, but we're just going to start here. Okay, this is a 12-inch piece of paper going across this way. It was a 12 by 12. And I used my scoreboard, and I scored it at 3 3/8, and then I scored it again at 8 1/2, and then I turned it. And I've cut this off already, but I scored this at 1/2 inch. And then I trimmed it from here to this fold and angle cut it. I did the same here. I cut it down on the inside of the line at just a slight angle here, by the way, from here to here, so that when it folds over, this can fold over the top of it. And I cut this and then angle cut here at the base. Now on the top, after I made my folds and creased them, see, it's going to look like this. Then I took this and I put it in here so I could make my cut. Oops, this side. I ran my score line right up just to the edge of the blue here, and then I punched it. Then I flipped it over, and once again I lined this up right at the edge of the blue, and I punched it. Okay. Then I got out my knife, and this part's already punched here. It's a little V that gets punched out because this is an envelope maker. Then I took my ruler and set it between those two V's, and I cut along that line, and the piece just popped out. Now you're going to need that score in there, that dip in there, in order for your notebook to fit inside of this. Okay? I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, my throat has a frog in it. Now, on this one, I did leave it, you can see, it's quite a bit wider. You don't have to leave it that wide if you don't want to. I just did because I was in a hurry. So what I did here was I ran glue down along this side, maybe. That figures, doesn't it? Plugged up. Ouch, almost stabbed myself. So close. So close to stabbing my finger. I just ran it along this side, and then on the inside of this one. Fold it over, press it down, and then I did the bottom. And if you want to ink these up, now is a good time to do that. If you want all the flaps and everything inked. So there's that. I'm really sorry about my throat. I don't know what's going on there. It's doing its own thing. Don't worry about this line back here. You're not going to see it. Okay, now let me grab a piece of heavy-duty paper. And I probably want something that kind of matches that. Now I'm using just regular, oh, that's not thick enough. Nope. It needs to be not just a cardstock. It needs to be a heavier cardstock. So let me grab a piece over here. I know I have some. Here we go. Okay. So you will see on this one how I did this. And I had to reinforce the back because it's still not strong enough. But I left it regular cardstock on this side. So you can see that this is cut shorter, so it doesn't come all the way down to the base. And the reason for that is to get this piece inside, these eyelets inside of this place we cut out. If you don't cut that out, these are going to stick right up above it, right on the line. So you cut this out so that it comes around these eyelets. Okay? So, let's see if this one fits this one. If it does, then we'll make it the same way. You see how that slides down in there pretty nicely? It still comes up against the rivets, but that's as deep as I wanted to cut it. So there we go. Okay. So this little board piece back here. The first thing I did was I measured how large of an area I had to place an envelope. Yours might be different. So you want to measure this from here to over here, and you want to leave a little space. And I'll tell you what I ended up with. We know this one's going to fit. So it is 5 inches. No, it is, yes, 5 inches by 6 7/8 plus 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Sorry. So let's start by cutting the length, the width, which was 5 inches. I gotta get my cutter. Okay, so do I have volume? Is my volume working? I didn't set my timer. Oh, it's set at 66 minutes. Well, we know that's not going to work. Okay, 5 inches. We'll just work until we know we have to quit. 5 inches. And then go ahead and score your 3/4 of an inch. I have to be careful with this one. That's how I cut my papers. I always put the blade through a sharp tip. Something I always do. I don't know why. Okay, so there's our 3/4 of an inch. I folded that over. And now I'm ready to cut my 6 7/8. So let's see, we have 6 and oh, where's the 7/8 on this one? There's 1/2, 5/8. So there's about 6 7/8 right there. Okay, so here we go. Now we need some paper in it. Now in this one, I'm just going to put some tea dyed papers and some coffee dyed papers. I'm just going to use the tea dyed. I have all kinds of tools around me. Where's my Tim Holtz cutter? Oh, in the cat tower. Okay, let's see if we can cut 3 or 4 of these. How about 3 at a time? I don't know if it'll work. But we're going to try it. So let's cut that little bit off. Okay, it doesn't cut it too well. And then we need to cut, that won't come off the bottom yet, so we know it needs to be around 5 inches, maybe a little bit less. So we do have a measuring thing up here. Here is 5 inches, right about here. Yeah, and it might need to be just slightly less. That worked better, didn't it? Okay, so looks like we have enough here that we can go ahead and use this one and get the papers we need. So 5 inches. I'm not going to worry about the top because we're not going to see it. But I do want to cut the bottom. And it is the length of the paper is 7 3/8. 7 3/8. I'm just going to mark that on here because there's no 7 3/8 on here. So I'm just going to mark it across here. Right about there. I don't know if this will cut through all these. Maybe if I go slow. Probably not. But let's test its limits. Right about there. Look at that. Woohoo! Okay, so now I have some paper to put inside of my little notebook. Right here. So let's put that in there. And then what I did, oh, we got to cover this first. I'm going to cover it with this. It's just a card. So we know that's 3/4 of an inch. So we'll need to cut that at approximately 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit shorter. I'm just going to measure it right on here. Cuts like butter. I'm going to cut this piece off too, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Nothing says we have to use everything that's shabby or grungy or new or old. And this is obviously some old cardstock I have here. Oops. Okay. There we go. Now, what did we say this was? 5 inches. So, if we measure over 1.5 inches and make a little mark on there, 1.5 inches. Where'd that envelope go? It has 1.5, right? Oh yeah. And then 1.5 inches over on the other one. 1.5. And we put another plus sign. Then I'm going to get my little crocodile. And I'm going to set this edge right on the back of the foot here. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, right on the back of the foot. That way it cuts it up closer to this edge. And the reason I came up with where I wanted it was so that these would hopefully be even. Then we need a couple of these guys. And, oh, we need to punch our paper, don't we? So let's just set this in here, just like this, and make a mark where we want to cut these. So far, so good. Bring back the old crocodile. Oops. Now this is going to cut pretty close to the edge up here. You can see that, but we're going to secure it down. And now if you want it more secure, that looks crooked to me. But if you want it more secure, you can go ahead and just run some glue along the top. And go ahead and just glue them down. And one more. I think I need to punch that down just slightly more. Whoops, that was not right. Looks like I'm going to have a big hole punch in there. See? I don't know if my eyelet will go through there now. No, it'll go through. I just don't know if it'll hold. We'll find out. And if you're still concerned about it, then go ahead and glue your first sheet on here. Oh, gosh, I didn't punch it all the way through, you guys. What is going on with me today? Okay. And mine is sticking out the side a little bit there. Well, the other one did that too. Just getting a hurry, I guess. There we go. All right. Whew. That was work, wasn't it? Okay. Oh, come on. There it is. It's really warm in my room today. The weather's a little warmer today, and the sun is pouring through my window, so it's pretty hot in here. So I am just attaching that. Now I ran a piece of torn fabric through it. And on the other one I had enough to tie a bow. I don't think I do on this one, so we're just going to tie a little knot. It's being naughty. Oh, goodness, all those hole punches. Okay, so we have that part. Now, I did have to go back and reinforce this because it just was not strong enough. Plus, it gave me a chance to kind of cover this up and cover these sharp edges of the eyelets. So let's find a piece of paper we can use on that. I know I had one a second ago, but I said it was not strong enough. Ooh. What's this one? I have no idea. Oh, it's that one. Well, this would work. This is out. Let's use it. This is not time to experiment. This is time to get things done. I have to cut it down further because that hole is huge and it's in the wrong spot. Okay, so we want it to be just maybe a little bit smaller, which is fine. This one, if I use it, will go in my spring journal, or my nature journal, sorry. I meant nature. So we're going to go down that way, and then across. Oh, all on the floor. Oh well, we'll pick them up later. Okay. This goes on the back of this. Okay. Let me grab a couple of. There's one. There's two. Okay. So at the top, I used Fabri-Tac because of the fabric. I originally used just art glitter glue. I couldn't get it to hold this piece down to the fabric. I think the area was just too thick, is what it was. Because art glitter glue does hold fabric. I've used it on all kinds of fabrics in the past. Just got glue on my sleeve. And I'm wearing the swim sweater because it's the same day. I've been working in here all day long. Okay. This just is going to make it just slightly stronger. Okay. Clamp those on the top to hold it around that fabric. There we go. And then bring back in your envelope and that extra piece of card that we held onto. Oh, I have to reinforce these. This paper was, when it folded, it cracked. So I have to reinforce these. Now I could use washi tape, but I thought, why not use the paper? I mean, it's right there available. I'd kind of like to get away from the washi tape, but don't know. And sometimes, some of it I love, though. I do love it, or I wouldn't buy it. Okay. Doesn't matter what glue you use, just pick a glue that you like. I grab whatever one's sitting there. Unless I need to be specific, like I knew I needed Fabri-Tac on that piece of fabric to hold that whole thing down. Okay, just slide that over. The nice thing about Fabri-Tac is you have a little bit of working time. Yeah, I was really surprised when that paper split, but I was using the wrong end of my bone folder to make my... I gouged it. It was my fault. It was me. I admit it. I'm going to just put that on there. Okay, so this one. From there to there. And save those for something else. Whoops. Wish I wouldn't set this up right. Works a little better for you if you keep it laid down or at a slight angle. Oh, not all the way down, but I lay it on its side is what I do. But sometimes the glue leaks out, so you don't want to prop it up on anything you don't want glue to get on. Just sliding that on. Ooh, boy, I really had the glue right there. It doesn't help when you squish it all out either. While it's still damp, you can roll it off if it's too much glue. Okay, need to cut a little bit off the bottom. I got just a little tad too much. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're going to take this and make this card front an envelope on the front of this pocket. So I don't have a lot of space there, so I don't think I'll make it a pocket with sides on it or anything. I think it'll just be this kind of pocket that gets cut off. And then I'm going to even up the bottom. That's where I just sliced it with the scissors. There we go. Now if you want to put a thumb hole in this, this is the time that you would do that. I'm not going to bother with that right now because I just want to show you how to do it. So this just gives you a place to slide a recipe if you don't know where you want to put it yet in the book. Maybe it's a new recipe and you want to write it on a recipe card. Maybe it's some coupons, or maybe you need to save some receipts. You know, store your Girl Scouts name and address so that you can get your cookies. Okay. so there is our pocket. And then you can dress it up however you want. And there you go. That's what it looks like at the back and the front. And you've got yourself a nice little tablet, a nice little pocket right here. Great place for a recipe or anything else. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, let me put that over there. Now we're going to go and look at the front. Let me put this in here first. And like I said, we're going to reinforce our envelopes. These are just an envelope that holds those cards that I had here, that odd card. So let's see what we have. All kinds of goodies here. Let's put that back up there. Oops, we'll need those little tabs. Okay, so the way that I have reinforced these is I didn't do anything to the bottom. I think the bottom will be fine. It's the sides and the top that are the weak parts, because they're the parts that are constantly being moved and used. So what I did was I cut strips 1 inch wide, scored them, folded it in half, and I glued them across the top, the front and the back of the envelope. And then I glued them down the sides. Now my envelopes, I'll show you on this one what I did. This is the full-size envelope, and you can see that this one needs to be smaller because it won't fit in a book at this length. So I had to make them smaller. So to do that, I scored this at 5 1/4 of an inch. Yep, 5 1/4, and I scored it. Score, score, score. Cut this at a slight angle, not a big one, just a slight, very slight angle to that corner. And then give it a little nip right there. Okay. Now, this is the harder part, but I'm going to show you how I did it. And it was harder. I don't know. It just was. So cutting to the inside of the line, cut all the way down the envelope to that corner, and then open this little piece up and slice this piece out. Now we have this piece. Do an angle cut, and we really don't need it to be this big. So where we have this extra little piece, which used to be the envelope, is now going to be a fold to the inside. And now we've made our envelope much smaller. Okay? So take your glue, and you really don't want to glue the inside of your envelope closed, because you're going to need the whole thing eventually. Not the whole thing, but the inside of it. Run your glue here and up here and here, just on the outside of the envelope. If you get any on the inside, just clear it off, and then around the edge. I didn't hit my edge there, so. Okay, then right along the base of the opening on the outside of the envelope. Fold that over, squish it all down, and find your towel or whatever it is you use. That was my eyelets. There we go. And now we cut it down to 3 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Okay. We got it. 3 1/4. And envelopes are never straight, so line the base up on the 3 1/4 inch. And now we have an envelope the correct size for our, let me put this up, for our accordion envelope. So first I want to apply this front piece. Now on the others, they don't need that, but this one is going to need a front piece. Excuse me. Okay, so let's do that first. Isn't that pretty on the back? This one is about gardening, this paper. It's from that same line as the, oh, I don't know, maybe it's not. I might have to look. Okay, so make sure you get it on right side up. Well, if you want it upside down, that's okay too. No problem. Let's see. It is Country Kitchen by Cartabella. That's what this one is. And that's what the other one was too, so. Okay. So now we need our piece that goes in the top, right here. And this, because it's folded, has now an upside down side and a right side up side. So you want to keep an eye on that. Don't want too much glue sopping out there because we don't want to glue the envelope closed. Okay, I found the easiest way to do this is to kind of slide it in and keep that L shape there. Push it up against and then fold it over. And then immediately check the inside for glue. But carefully because the envelope's wet and it gets weak. Okay, let's flip it over. And now we're going to do the back. And this one goes sideways, so who knows? I have been cutting them all different directions. But if you want things in the right direction, you really have to kind of watch for it. Just going to carefully get that glue down around those edges there. Just going to run that in there. And I did cut the length of these just slightly smaller than the envelope because I didn't want it to jab into the edges. Okay, now let's do the outside. Now these are probably too long, so we'll have to probably cut them off. Ooh. Now this one has a right side up and a wrong side up. So, I don't know if I cut them both that way, but I certainly did this one. Okay, now let's apply the other one. Yep, it has a right and wrong, a right and up and down. So what is the hardest part of journal making for you? I have to tell you, for me, it's doing the cover. I don't know what it is. I love covers when they're done, but I am not real fond of making the covers. I always wonder if they have to be decorated more or less, or, you know, I always have so many questions in my mind about it. And I know it's kind of goofy, isn't it? Don't cut the bottom of your envelope open. I probably will, but don't you do it. Don't do it. Oh, we can fix it. If we have to, we'll put this stuff on the bottom too. Okay, now we're getting there. Let's take our envelopes and we're going to glue them together now. They have to be glued in the center, right down the center, approximately. And then I give them a little bit right here. Then you put your next envelope on top of that. Line them up. Now remember, envelopes are never really sized the same. Oops, but you do want to work at getting them even across the bottom if you can. And you want them even at the top too, so see, that's a problem. Okay, now right here where they're held together in the center where the glue is, take one of, I clip some of these little squares or triangles, rectangles, sorry. They are 1 7/8 of an inch long by 1 1/4 inches wide. I folded them in half. I just clipped them. I didn't worry too much about it. But I am going to round these corners because I think it looks nice. So I'm going to give it a 1/4 of an inch rounding. And they're going to go on sideways. It just looks nice, but it also reinforces the place where you pull apart the envelopes, so that they won't come apart. We're just going to use them as reinforcements. The one thing to know about these is that you can't close up the sides, because if you do, it won't open. See, now this way it opens. As long as you're just doing something to the center of it. And now let's do the center of this one. I'll just do kind of a fat line there. And then I do kind of a fat line in the middle. And then I put my front on. Trying to line it all up best as I can. The nice thing about these little tabs is it kind of gives you a place to pull on the, if we'd have stuck them up higher, that would have may have been better. You know, I really don't know. 1/4 of an inch. And this one goes in between these two, and you just line it up with the previous one. Now this is where you want to make sure you don't leave glue in your envelope. This is how I ripped my other envelope, is I accidentally glued them together. I admit it. It was my fault. I tried to open it and it was a mess. Okay, so then if you want one for here, you can leave this one up a little bit if you want, but I'm going to stick mine down because, and I'm just going to put it there. It's going to give me some place to, you know, hold on to that's strong. It's already strong, but now it's double strong. And it's just going to give me some place to hang on to pull that envelope open. We're almost done, but not quite. Don't run off yet. Okay. Now, going to the back of our envelope, I cut a width of card. It's just a little bit wider than these. I scored it at 1/2 inch, and then I scored at 3/4. Oh, oh, I better look. Better look. Okay. 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. So that gives me an extra 1/4 of an inch right there. Then I went to the back of my envelope, and I think this is going to be slightly bigger. So what you want to do is angle cut this right here, just to the first score line. You don't want to clip up to the second score line because then your lid will have a hole in it. Okay, and then you just run the glue on the first score line, not on the line, this side of the line, towards the edge there. We're just going to glue this flap on to our envelope, to our, whatever you call this. Now you want to be sure that, oh, I went clear up to the top. Oh, Ange. Was not watching what I was doing well enough. Okay, let's try that again. I sure don't want to cut another one. Don't want to waste what I have. Okay. Don't cross that 3 into that other little piece. I wondered why it was acting so weird. Okay, you want to leave that so the flap has room to roll over the top. Okay, that will work. Okay. All right. Now you want to round these corners. I'm going to round them at 1/2 inch. You don't have to round them if you don't want to. Now it's up to you whether or not you want to put a tie on here, or if you just want to do a tab closure like I've been doing on the rest of them. If you want to do a tab closure, well, then we have to make a tab. Let's see if I have any more of that. I don't have any more. All I have is some little stripies. So what will we use? One of those, I guess. Guess we'll use a flower pot. It's not exactly what I wanted to use. Maybe I could use a flower. No, that won't work. Let's see. Need something yellow. Well, some of that's kind of gardeny, isn't it? There's some oregano, but that won't be right. Let's go with the basil. It'll be crooked, but we'll do it. In my garden, it says. And we'll go with bah. Okay, so that's where that's going to go. Maybe we want it yellow. Let's go with yellow. I like the yellow. How much time do we have? 19 minutes, it looks like. So the best way to do this, I think, is to eyeball it, but I always get it wrong, you guys. I always put them offset. Now you can either run your, well, no, it won't reach in there, I don't think. Won't reach, never mind. And then I'm going to use this one to secure it down. So this one will need to be cut there and there. Oh, there. Couldn't see the cuts. Okay, now like before, you want to glue these in far enough to make it solid so that it doesn't just, so the tab, the strength of the tab and the lid doesn't pull everything open. Okay? And then putting it fairly close. I want to run the glue that way, so press away from the tab so that the glue doesn't go this way. Okay, and there you are. You now have an envelope to hold your that'll hold your recipe cards. Now remember, when you glue this down, you can go ahead and glue the whole back. And having it reinforced around the edges is going to make a tremendous amount of difference. But makes a nice little accordion pocket there, and it'll work perfect for extra cards, blank cards maybe. And there we go. And so that is the inside of the journal completed. Okay, on to the front. Okay, I still have charms to put in here. I've decided I'm going to tuck this piece inside, and this is going to be on the outside, because I just couldn't figure out how to get this piece on there and have it all show. So I'm just going to eyeball putting this on the center here. Going to clip some threads. Sometimes I like to leave them. But I think on this one I'll take them off. I am going to grunge up the around the edges a little bit. Okay. Oh, there it is. I just think it'll look better with the grungy edge. Keeping it within the vintage theme, or the retro theme maybe. Guess that's still vintage, isn't it? Okay, so there we go. That looks cool. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to eyeball where I want to put that. And I may add some lace or something to it later. Today I just want to get it put on. But tomorrow I'll be getting out all the recipes to put in it. I hope you'll come back for that if you like recipes. Some of them I'm going to scan, and I'm going to put them on my Dogwood Paper Arts group page so that you can have access to those and the freebies I've put on there. I don't think people stay long enough to the end to hear some of the stuff that I've been offering, so anyway, there will be, the recipes will be on there. And if you have a favorite recipe or a super delicious one that you just love that you'd like to share, then you could post yours on that page too. Just either scan it and post it, or I don't know. Okay, front cover right here. Now I gotta remember there's a pocket in there. This is well, just about 9 inches. So 4.5 is about where I need to put my hole for the, let's see if it's going to make it past this pocket. Yes, it is. Okay, so I want this, and I'm going to use the large hole size. I'm going to set that up on its end. And now that I'm looking at this way, I can see that that is crooked. It is crooked. There, scooted it just a fraction there. I think that helped. Scoot it just a little bit more. That's the kitty knocking on the door. I had to kick him out because he was chewing on things. He knows the word no really well. So he would stop chewing immediately, but then he would immediately go back and start chewing again. I would really like to use one of these fatter ones. Like this. I wonder if I have a red one. Probably don't. I have a farm red, which is a deep, deep red. There we go. Nice little fat eyelet. Okay, so this needs to be on, this is the 3/16 inch hole, so it needs to be on A1. So this is 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and this needs to be on A, which is just flip it over. Okay. Turn it up this way. And hopefully I got it. Oh, I did. Look at that. Nice. Okay. Per my usual, I'm going to hammer that down. Take away any of the owie edges. And let's take a look at our ribbon. Do we want to use the big ribbon or the small ribbon? Here's the small stuff. If I use the small, I always want to double it. I just love it doubled over. Now, it has to be able to go, we're only going to put it here and then wrap it around like this. And then it'll tie in over here, I think. So I think. Just do this. Just do this, Angela. You can do this. So what I want to do is bring that through. I'm trying to decide if I want a knot in there. And then that will tuck in there. And then this will wrap around. And it'll wrap down through here. Just like that. And then there'll be some extras here. So, that doesn't feel like it's going to hold it very well. I suppose you could bring it back around and give it a double tie there. Or you could run one this way, one that way, and tie it this way. Nope, I don't want it tied. I want it like an apron string. So there we go. So tomorrow I will be inserting all of the journal cards, and that will also provide us with a little bit of a walkthrough tomorrow. So thank you for joining me and hanging out with me, and tomorrow it will be completed with some recipes, and the journal cards, of course, will be recipe cards in this one. So anyway, thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this series. And I hope you enjoyed this series. Sorry about that, I accidentally flicked you off as I was trying to bring you closer. I hope you enjoyed this series, and you got something out of it, and I'm so sorry it took so long. It's tax season here for me, and you know, I'll know better for next year. I'll be more organized next year too. Okay, well, thank you very much for hanging out with me, and bless you all. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.